As promised, joining us now, independent candidate for House of Delegates in the 74th District in Richmond, former Delegate Joe Morrissey. Joe, great to have you.
John, good to be with you. Couple of things. Currently, I'm still the delegate. My resignation isn't effective until January 13th.
All right, well, we're good on the other stuff. So still delegate. Joe, Fighting Joe is your nickname. Now, you took everybody by surprise. A tremendous amount of pressure, Joe, put on you when your plea bargain was made, when you took the Alfred plea to resign. Both sides of the aisle. We had Delegate David Toscano on our show. The minority leader said unequivocally you should resign. You did that and then turned around after Bill House set the special and decided to run. Can you tell our audience why you decided to run as an independent and did not enter the normal process for the Democratic primary, Joe?
Sure. First of all, you did a good summary. There were calls to step down, and I acceded to those requests, and I actually stepped down. But what I said at the time is, it's not up to the political pundits. It's not up to the partisan caucuses. Let's let the voters of the 74th decide. So although there was no precedent for stepping down, I did it anyway. And I said, I'll do that. And then let's let the voters who have heard everything and know all the warts and blemishes, let them decide. And then But I announced that I would, as soon as I said I would step down, that I would run in that special election. And then what happens? Party bosses get together and they come up with this plan that they will nominate the person using nothing short of a poll tax. And they said it's open to everybody in the district so long as they're a member in good standing. So it turns out that 24 people elected the candidate that now is running with a Democratic label on his shoulders. 24 out of 80,000 constituents. The next day I went out and collected 464 signatures and got on the ballot as an independent. So
how many signatures do you have now, Delegate Morrissey?
You only need 125, and we were pre-approved, so I'm on the ballot for January 13th. And once again, I don't have that large of an ego that, I'm going to make the decision. And as I said a moment ago, party bosses shouldn't. Let's let the voters in the 74th District decide who they want to be their standard bearer. It's interesting that I'm running as an independent, having run for, served in the House the last almost 8 years as a Democrat, but, circumstances dictated that.
Okay, now you're running as an independent. What about the many of those that we've talked to in the General Assembly have said, look, if somehow Joe Morrissey gets in and he wins, and Delegate, I'm predicting you are going to win, and I'm never wrong on this stuff. I think you're going to win, sir. Many people are saying, look, we're just going to kick him out. We're going to get 2/3 in the Senate. We're going to get 2/3 in the House. We're going to kick him out. So it's an exercise in futility. How do you respond to that?
My reaction is, what tremendous hubris. How dare they? There are members serving in the Virginia General Assembly right now with misdemeanor convictions. Others that have had in their earlier days youthful transgressions, whatever. But there are current people serving with misdemeanor convictions. How dare they say that we will subvert our will for the will of the voters of the 74th District. So that's a battle that I will step aside and I will let the folks in the 74th make once we come to that, But, I got to tell you, John, does it irk me a little bit that, the governor comes out and says, I think he should step down? Or even stronger words. My mindset, my recollection is that he was the guy that was standing up there in Washington, D.C. after Bill Clinton had an affair, saying, absolutely he should not resign. I'm a single guy. The young lady was a single woman. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I think I'll be better tomorrow than I am today. But, there's a little bit of hypocrisy. There's another delegate in there that's married down in the peninsula that has his girlfriend on the payroll for the last 10 years in the House of Delegates. How dare they take this moral high road? I am not by any means suggesting, John, that I am perfect. I like Oscar Wilde, one of my favorite Irish authors, saying that the only difference between a saint and a sinner is that all saints had a past and all sinners have a future. I probably got a little bit of both. Certainly, I have erred in the past, and I think I can be a better person tomorrow. But how dare they take those positions when they have their own crosses or skeletons in the closet?
8:45 on the John Fredericks Show across Virginia with House of Delegates member Joe Morrissey from the 74th District. That's Richmond and Henrico, running as an independent on a work release program for the next 6 months. They call you Fighting Joe for a reason, so I'm going to stick with that theme, Fighting Joe. Let's get to the criticism of the spectacle that you would create, getting out of jail at 7:30 a.m., having to check in at 7:30 p.m., serving in the General Assembly, people saying, look, this is this prestigious body, the oldest legislative body in the United States. It creates a spectacle. How do you answer that?
Well, there's certainly validity to that side of the argument, okay? And I can't discount that. That's one of the reasons, John, that I said before that, I was earlier in December, I didn't want to be that distraction. That's why I said, let me step down. Let me resign, and then let me run in the special election to let the voters who have percolated on this matter let them decide. Now, I've done that. I capitulated to that side of the aisle and did exactly what they said. I think the greater spectacle is if the certain elected officials, elitists, say, wait a second, my decision, my point of view, my desire is more important than the wishes of the 70 members, the citizens in the 74th District. I think they create the spectacle. I am fully authorized and to run as a candidate. I am doing that. I am holding myself out with, as I said earlier, with all the warts and blemishes. And I'm not presumptuous enough to say that I'm going to win. But if they decide to send me back, then isn't it the voters in the 74th that should be the ultimate arbiters and not, some partisan elected officials? And so if there's a spectacle, it's brought upon themselves. And it's at that point. It's at that point that I say, wait a second, I've had enough. I did exactly what you said. But now let's look at some of the other folks who are throwing arrows and darts, and look at their their warts, and see if it's not hypocritical. I think that's where we're going to get to.
Well, Joe, I think the toughest thing here, Delegate, would be...
Call me Joe.
Joe, would be that if you win, and I think you are, and then you're expelled, the General Assembly is the people's house, right?
It is.
And if the people of the 74th District make the decision that they want you to represent them, they the people, what right do you have to get thrown out of the people's house? I don't see how that works.
That's a decision. That's an argument that we would make probably in federal court within days of the election if they choose to go that route. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Time and again, I hear legislators stand up and say, we're here in the people's house to do the people's business. Well, the people decided that they want, Joe back as their delegate. There's a list of things that I've fought tirelessly for the last 8 years. They want that guy, back in their house doing their business. And so I think there's a constitutional impediment for certain folks to say, yeah, but I don't want him in there, or we don't want him in there. So that's so if they want to make that the issue in the 2015 session, I don't. But I'll tell you this, John, I'm not a quitter. I've never quit anything in my life. I'm the same 16-year-old that won a state wrestling championship on a partially torn ACL. I just don't give up. It's not in my DNA. I've made that very clear. But I haven't allowed that arrogance or that hubris of, wanting to serve to get in my way. It was a very, very thoughtful process when I stepped down, saying, there were a lot of stories out there saying, I'm going to step down, but let's let the folks out there decide. So I've done everything they could ask, and I'm not going to, be a walking mat and somebody who's walked over. That's just not going to happen.
Well, look, the Democrats had a right to decide how to do their nominating process, just like Republicans do. There's been instances where Republicans have just had 3 or 4 people choose a candidate. So I don't agree with that, but it is their right. But it's also your right to run as an independent. Now, my final question, Joe, is this. Assuming that you win, or as the election goes forward, is it fair to say that anybody that is going to do the ballot for Delegate Joe Morrissey knows exactly what your situation is?
Oh, absolutely, of course, yeah. No question. It's hard not to. It's been the leading story for the last couple of weeks. Many news cycles, and so yeah, it's going to be the people that are going to be voting are the people that are very much engaged and very civic minded, and they're the ones that vote all the time. They know what's going on, but I think again, I don't like to be presumptuous, but I think the thinking might go somewhat like this. Okay, he's the guy that's fought on the House floor, against predatory payday lenders. He's fought for voting rights. He's fought for mammograms for single women who have 2 children that, perhaps can't afford it. He's our guy who fights for the underdog. And yes, we realize that he's not a perfect individual. We hope he does better down the road, but we want him. So I think it's going to be. I think you'd have to think very carefully before you or another legislator and you decided that you're going to subvert your will for them. That's how I look at it. And the other kind of issue, John, that's percolating under the surface is this. Even the Richmond Times-Dispatch came out and said that the process used in the nominating process disenfranchised 99% of the people, including most African Americans, and it said that it amounted no more to a poll tax. The people are now aware of that, and I think that's one of the issues that's percolating under the surface.
Well, Joe, look, that was contrived to keep you from being the nominee, right? There's no question about that. So they did that, and I've taken the position that the Democrats in charge of your district had the right to set their nominating process as they please, might not agree with it, just like you have the right to run as an independent, and you got the signatures. You got 5x over what you needed. Final question, Joe. Are you sorry for what you did?
There's no question. I made some errors in judgment that should not have happened, and I am, and I hope that I can, amend those transgressions with my body of work going forward, and that's going to be, up to folks like you to weigh in on as to whether or not I've successfully done that.
I will do that. Delegate, we really appreciate your being with us today. We appreciate your time. We know that it's very valuable, especially right now. We hope to have you back on as we've got about, 2 weeks. We look forward to your dialogue and your contribution to the process in this campaign, sir. Thank you.
John, thanks so much, and it was nice talking to you and having the opportunity to share my views with your vast Commonwealth-wide listening audience. And, yeah, I, too, look forward to chatting with you maybe as early as Election Day or the day after in 2 weeks hence.
That sounds good. Hey, Joe, if people want more information or they want to get in touch with your campaign, where do they go?
Call the office at 737-1626.
That's 804-737-1626. Thanks, Joe.
That's it.
Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.
All right.